Hello, my name is Hassam Afzal, and I'll be looking into Henri Cartier-Bresson's work for my presentation. Henri Cartier-Bresson was a French photographer widely regarded as one of the founders of modern photojournalism. He became famous for what he called the decisive moment, the precise instant when composition, movement, and emotion aligned to create a meaningful photograph. Working almost exclusively with a compact 35mm Leica camera and available natural light, he rarely cropped or manipulated his images in the darkroom. Instead, he relied on careful observation, geometry, framing, and timing to compose photographs directly through the viewfinder. Cartier-Bresson photographs this scene from an elevated vantage point, using the station's architecture to organize the composition. The railing, platform, and curved railroad tracks form strong leading lines that naturally guide the viewer's eye through the image, while the high contrast of black and white emphasizes the geometry of the station. The two figures are placed near the edge of the frame, balancing the composition without dominating it. What stood out to me most was that one man leans over the railing, looking towards something the viewer cannot see. Through careful framing and the deliberate exclusion of part of the scene, Cartier-Bresson reminds us that every photograph is limited to a single perspective. His technical choices transform an ordinary train station into an image filled with mystery and curiosity. This second image relies on framing and repetition more than facial expression. The prison bars create rigid vertical lines that divide the composition, while the prisoner's arms and legs extend across those lines, producing visual tension between confinement and freedom. Cartier-Bresson uses a side angle instead of photographing the cells head-on, allowing the viewer to see the prisoners reaching beyond the bars without ever revealing their identities. The even natural lighting and sharp focus preserve every texture of the steel and concrete, making the environment feel cold and restrictive. By concealing the prisoners' faces through composition rather than cropping afterward, he emphasizes isolation and reminds us that imprisonment separates not only the prisoners from the outside world, but also the viewer from fully understanding their lives. In this third image, Cartier-Bresson moves physically close to his subjects, tightly framing the scene so that facial expressions and gestures dominate the composition while unnecessary background details disappear. The soft, natural lighting and rich tonal contrast direct attention toward the woman's hands, closed eyes, and partially concealed faces. Rather than photographing a dramatic event, he waits for subtle gestures that communicate emotion without words. The decisive moment here is not action, but expression. The concealed faces suggest profound personal loss while also implying the quiet expectation to remain composed in public. Through composition, timing, and gesture, Cartier-Bresson communicates emotions that extend beyond what the camera can literally record. In this fourth photograph, Cartier-Bresson demonstrates mastery of framing and depth. Rather than photographing the children directly, he shoots through the opening of a collapsed wall, using the broken masonry as a natural frame that immediately draws the viewer into the scene. He layers children throughout the foreground, middle ground, and background, creating depth while encouraging the eye to move naturally through the photograph. The rough textures of the rubble contrast with the children's movement, while the bright daylight evenly illuminates the entire scene without dramatizing it. What stood out to me most was that, unlike many of his photographs, the children's faces are fully visible. The viewer is no longer protected by hidden perspectives, but confronted directly with the reality of lives shaped by destruction. Cartier-Bresson uses composition rather than editing to reveal resilience, reminding us that although a photograph can vividly document a moment, it can never fully capture what it means to live it.